There's so many players who are all trying to go play in college, who are all trying to go pro. But it's a matter, of course, it's how good you are, right? You have to have the skill to back it up. But a lot of times, if you're not being seen, it's like it never happened.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Talk of Elevation. I'm Mikayla, and here's Adisyn. Today, we are joined by Cameron DeJong, founder of Ventura Football Network. He turned his own journey from college soccer to playing professionally and internationally into a mission to change the system. As the founder of Ventura Football Network, he's working to make sure financial barriers don't decide who gets a shot. Because as he says, if you're not seen, it never happened. Thank you so much for joining us, Cameron.
Thanks for having me, Mikayla. Thanks for having me, Adisyn. Happy to be here.
Absolutely.
So, Cameron, start us from the beginning. How did you start playing soccer? What was it like growing up in, the soccer world?
Yeah, so I was kind of born and raised playing the sport. Started probably back when I was like 4 or 5. Kind of grew up playing rec, did the whole club soccer, high school, playing locally here in Ventura, and then kind of after high school got to go to college. Was able to get a scholarship right out of my senior year to San Francisco State, where I did a couple years there before transferring to Cal State Monterey Bay, and then from there graduated with my degree, and then ended up doing a season out in Texas, followed by making a jump out to Australia for a few seasons, and then out to Finland for a season before kind of coming back home and doing this whole Ventura Football Network thing.
That's awesome. What was it like, playing in the States versus playing internationally?
For me, it was a lot different in a sense of terms of like the culture, the technical ability of just the players and, the teams and that you would face. So it was a little bit different, but kind of throughout my experience, you kind of learn to adapt. For me, I played in a lot of different places, played in a lot of different systems with different players, coaches, you name it, right? Where you kind of have to learn to improve yourself as a player to, again, fit into whatever system or whatever environment that you're in. So it was really cool for me to experience that, and ultimately it was a dream come true because ever since I was little, I always had that dream of playing overseas and professionally, and luckily I was able to make that happen.
That's awesome. And in two different, completely different places too. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a really cool experience. Finland was really great, obviously being out in Europe, playing with some really great players, and then Australia was amazing too. I was there for a few years, or a few seasons, and yeah, absolutely loved it.
That's great.
I have to ask, I guess internationally, soccer, football is more known or people are more into it. Did you feel that kind of cultural shock going from the States to Finland and Australia?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the culture around football, especially overseas or internationally, it's a lot bigger and a lot more established. There's definitely obviously a longer history around the sport, and it came down especially like in the community that was built around these teams or around the sport in general, where the local town, local community, they would all have their team that they would all rally behind, and it came down to the youth players to the local mom and pop businesses. Everybody was super into it, and on the weekends when the matches would happen, all the stadiums would be filled out and it'd be a whole community event, which was really fun to obviously be part of that experience.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Shining on that stage, that's cool.
Yeah. So let's go back to the your Ventura Football Network. How did you start that? What led you to start that?
So obviously like kind of playing throughout the years and kind of growing up and kind of figuring it out, at least figuring my way through the system where, nobody ever really gave me a roadmap of how to actually do it, how to get from point A to point B. I just knew I wanted to get to that level. I wanted to play internationally, play in Europe, be a professional, but just didn't really know how to do it. But luckily I was blessed to have a support system around me, my friends, my family, obviously my coaches, my teammates who were obviously there to support me in my journey. But obviously throughout that time, a lot of trial and error, and you see a lot of what's wrong with the system. And obviously in football, the big buzzword is pay to play, right? Everything's pay to play. It's too expensive. People are losing opportunities. They're not, being seen. And I would say, everyone's complaining about it, and I didn't really see a lot of people doing anything about it. So that kind of motivated me to start Ventura Football Network with the goal of trying to make the sport that much more accessible and making these sort of high-level opportunities more available for every player.
Before we move on, let's talk about something every serious athlete needs to pay attention to: your digital footprint. Fan Day Nation has just released a powerful new tool to help athletes make sure their social media profiles are fully optimized and recruit ready. Today, coaches aren't just evaluating game film, they're evaluating character, leadership, and maturity online. This resource gives you a step-by-step roadmap to clean up your profiles, highlight your strengths, and avoid common mistakes that can cost opportunities. If playing at the next level is your goal, don't leave your online presence to chance. Go check it out now at fandaynation.com.
And what does being seen mean to you in terms of these athletes?
In terms of being seen, I mean, especially nowadays, everything's digital, it's online, and there's so many players who are all trying to go play in college, who are all trying to go pro. But it's a matter, of course, it's how good you are, right? You have to have the skill to back it up. But a lot of times, if you're not being seen, it's like it never happened. And it's super important nowadays, if you are trying to go to college or if you're trying to be a professional or trying to play overseas, is to have some content, some media to actually show who you actually are. Because unless a scout's there in person watching, the day of, which again, it's a possibility, but the odds are very low because there's only so many scouts, and then there's thousands and if not millions of players out around the entire world. And the odds of them seeing you at that one exact moment or in that one perfect play, it's really kind of slim to none. But my perspective and what I always tell players is you have to be your biggest advocate and, market yourself and advocate for yourself. So putting together highlight tapes, putting together your resume, your CV, getting photos, right, and sharing that, emailing coaches, calling coaches, putting yourself out there is super important, especially nowadays. And that's really what we started off with Ventura Football Network, was the idea of providing those sorts of tools and resources in an accessible way. So when we started our showcases, it was the idea of that I had was saying that you're always going to walk away with something, whether that's an opportunity, a contract. Obviously that's the main goal, but you're at least going to walk away with all the footage, the film, the tools, the resources, the information that you need to be successful.
That's great.
Absolutely.
It's awesome. Give those kids the best opportunity they can.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How much of a difference would it make for you if you had that when you were younger?
I've had some other people have asked me that, and what I tell them is if I had the knowledge obviously I know now, or if I had a person like me when I was, maybe 15 or 16, who knows where I would be? Maybe I'd be, playing in the Champions League by now. Who knows?
Right. Going to the Olympics.
Yeah, and it's I was able to figure out, my own path, and now I'm really focused on shedding a light and showing people, what I was able to do and kind of the path that they can take to hopefully continue to go on even further than I did.
That's awesome.
I think everything happens for a reason, so that makes sense for you to not want to go back, because you've achieved so much and you've continued this legacy going through Ventura, and that's really cool.
And now you're helping all these other athletes achieve what they need to achieve.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for me, it kind of was a motivation of how can I give back to my community? So hosting these events, how obviously I'm a born and raised Ventura local here, and, bringing these showcases, bringing these sorts of opportunities, helping a lot of these local clubs was obviously a really big priority because, again, this is where I'm from and I want to try to give back in whatever way I can. And this is how I see how I can do it.
That's awesome, Cameron. So what is the future looking like here for Ventura Football Network here?
Future's looking really bright. We have really big goals, especially with Ventura Football Network. It all, like I said, it started off with just one showcase, and it's since expanded into a lot of really cool, interesting programs that we're doing. So
you just had a successful weekend too.
Yeah, we're hosting our showcases. We just recently hosted the VFN Cup on this last Saturday, Sunday, which was a 3v3 tournament over at Red Lion Athletics here in Ventura. And it was really cool. We had around 8 teams, all kind of high school age players. And it was a really cool event, and we're hoping to do even more of these tournaments. We're going to be hosting camps, more clinics, more showcases, and our goal is to hopefully by the end of 2026 to expand our showcases not just here locally, but in other kind of communities as well. So other counties across California and even other states around across the U.S.
That's
great.
amazing. Well, good luck to you in your future for Ventura Football Network. We'll be sure to keep an eye out for you and anything that you can do to help us and we to help you, because our whole thing is we want to be seen too. Fan Day Nation tries to help athletes. So we can't wait to talk to you more. And where can people find you? What's your handles, internet searches, anything like that?
Yeah, so you can find all of our information at our website. It's venturafootballnetwork.com. Has pretty much everything you need to know there. You can obviously follow us on social media at Ventura Football Network, on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, all of it, right? We're all at Ventura Football Network. So be sure to give us a follow, and come along for the ride.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, you heard it here. Cameron's mission is simple but powerful. Create a system where athletes can be seen, heard, and given a fair shot. And if tonight showed us anything, it's that sometimes being that squeaky wheel is exactly what creates change. Thank you, Cameron, for reminding us that visibility creates opportunity and that opportunity can change a life. We appreciate you.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mikayla. Thanks, Adisyn.
Have a
Thank
good
you,
one.
Cameron.
Bye-bye.